What is up, my dear sweet YouTube eat, my free thinkers, free speakers, and seekers of the truth? So, as a 37-year-old college student, I am, starting to see the value in technology that isn't outdated. It's a stereotype, but it's true um, that people in their 30s and 40s sometimes tend to get stuck on older technology. Now, when I say older technology, I'm talking about 5 years. But in the land of technology, that's a decade, right? Because things change so much. So, my phone, I used to have a phone that was very old, and it was a touchscreen. So don't look at me like I'm rocking a flip phone. I'm not that old, but it was. An LG, and it was small, and compared to what a lot of my colleagues were using, which is the newest iPhones and things like that, it was super outdated. Well, my daughter's birthday was coming up, and so we decided that she's old enough for a cell phone, so we got family plans. We all got a new phone. My wife, myself, my daughter, and my mother-in-law. So now I'm rocking a Samsung J7, I think. Samsung, yeah, something like that. See, I'm old. But it's because of the memory capacity and its functionality, it's able to do things that my other phone wasn't, including utilize the Google Assistant. Now, for those of you unaware, when you say the OK Google or Hello Google or anything like that, you're bringing up the Google Assistant, technically. And the Google Assistant, most people just use for search or weather or sports news, or some people use it for stocks. But there's so much more you can do with it you may not have known. It's a great boredom killer, and you're able to do just some crazy stuff. So, for example, next time you're bored, try asking your Google Assistant on your phone, or if you have it on your computer, which I believe there's an app for the computer, but try asking it to give you a riddle. Okay. Now, the riddle that it'll give you is usually not very difficult, and you should be able to solve it. For example, mine, it asked me, I can let you in or keep you out. I can swing either way. What am I? And the answer, of course, was a door. So I said a door, and it said, "Oh, you're right. You're God. You're smart. You know." And look, there's something that's never been there before. And I was like, "Huh?" And it showed a little picture of a cartoon picture of a door, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So it said, "Do you want to go in?" And I was like, "Hmm. Okay, sure." So I said yes, and it went in, and it went into this huge narrative that literally gave me goosebumps because it was unexpected, telling a story about that just took you on an adventure. And then it asked if you wanted to continue, and if you said yes, then it would give you another riddle, and if you got the riddle right, it lets you continue, et cetera, et cetera. And if you get the riddle wrong, it gave you a chance to get a hint and then do it again. So I spent, only about 5 or 10 minutes doing this, but in it, I got into a pretty deep story. It was really fun, surprisingly, and cool, and an easy little waste of time, and plus it gave me some fun little brain busters. So that was pretty neat. So if you ever get bored, ask Google to give you a riddle, and enjoy your little adventure. Now, the second thing that you can get Google to do that you may not have known is you can have Google tell you a joke of the day. Now, that's old. Everybody knows you can get a joke of the day, and they're usually puns and they're meh, right? But what's cool is you can actually set it up. You can quote subscribe to it, and then it'll send you a joke of the day every single day. So it's kind of a neat thing. You can even set the time. So it's kind of a neat thing. Like, I forgot that I did it, and I was having a rough night, and it was like 6 o'clock at night, and then all of a sudden it said, "Hey, here's your joke of the day," and it brightened my day just out of the blue. So that's kind of a neat thing. And of course, obviously this is a little bonus thing, but you can do productivity things. You can actually say, "Hey Google, what's on my schedule?" And by the way, you can now say, "Hey Google," instead of just "Okay Google." But you can ask it what's on your schedule, and you can set up an agenda, and you can sync it up with like your Cortana app or other things like that. So that's pretty cool too, to be able to have that all set up. Now, the final thing that I thought was really, really cool is, as many of you may or may not know, I am an advocate for ADD and ADHD understanding, awareness, and tips and tricks on how to deal with living with ADD, especially in adults. Um, One of the things that I read a lot about was how the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. Now, I like to think, here's where I might lose some people, but I like to think that um, I am in tune with my intuition. I think that everybody has some intrinsic value when it comes to that. Some people are really, really good at being tapped in to the universe, so to speak, or the powers out there. and some people aren't. Some people think it's hocus pocus, and so they don't enjoy the benefits of it. But I not only believe it, I believe it pretty hard. A great example was that one day I had thought about, I had read or heard on a TED Talk or something about remote viewing, which is where one person is in a room, and then they are asked to visualize something happening on the other side of the world, or even just the other side of the building, and they close their eyes and they can see it. Not vividly, usually, unless they're really well practiced, but they see shapes and things like that that are, obviously what it is. Now, to test this, I stood in the parking lot of the Jack Trice Stadium, and I looked forward, and what I could see was some tents. In fact, they looked like this. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but those right there. Okay, so it's pretty clear that is yellow and red. And I stood in the parking lot. I looked at all the rows of cars, and I called my buddy at the time, and I said, "Hey, so I want you to roll with me on this." And he's flexible about saying, "Yeah, sure, I'll try it, whatever." And I said, "I want you to close your eyes and just kind of try to see what it is I'm seeing. You don't have to try and pick stuff out. Think about color, shapes, whatever." He said, "You're standing on something hard," and I was standing in the middle of the parking lot. That's all I said, by the way. I didn't give him any hints. And he said, "I see a lot of blocks, a lot of things that are kind of diagonal." And at first I didn't see the connection. He was talking about the cars that were around me. And I said, "Do you see any colors?" He said, "Yeah, I see maybe red and yellow." Now, this guy is colorblind, so that was kind of interesting anyway. But he said, "See red and yellow, maybe they're tents. I can't really tell." He goes, "But are you in a parking lot?" And I said, "Yeah." "How'd you know that?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "I just closed my mind and thought Steve, or closed my eyes and thought Steve." So I think that's some pretty strong intuition. And we tested this a couple more times. There's one time I was driving down the highway and I looked forward and I called him up. I said, "What am I looking at right now?" He goes, "I see a white box with a little red box in it." And he goes, "I see two red dots." And I was looking at the back of a semi. That was a big white box with two red dots, which were the lights, and there was a little red sign on "How's my driving?" or whatever. And it was exactly what I was looking at. So he was doing remote viewing pretty damn strongly. I digress. All of this gets me a little off topic, but here's the other thing that's kind of interesting. And I've had lots of cases of this. Like, I'd love to do a video on that and more. I doubt anybody will see this video, but if you do and you think that's interesting, feel free to leave me a comment, and maybe I'll go a little deeper into it in another video. But back to the Google Assistant. If you say, "Okay, Google, practice mindfulness," it'll say, "Practicing mindfulness for 2 minutes." You'll hear very calming music, and it'll give you step-by-step calm instructions on how to meditate and practice mindfulness. It's only 2 minutes, but it's enough to kind of reset you and ease your stress and make you aware of your intentions of the day. And in my opinion, very freaking cool. Like, I as somebody with ADD, I get distracted easily, especially if I'm not on my meds. So the idea that this app can help you to meditate was just super cool. Now, that's just scratching the surface, but those are 3 things that the Google Assistant can do that you probably didn't know, but you totally should try. So if you like this video, do all the things you're supposed to. I really hate it when channels plug it, because you guys should know if you like something, click it. But honestly, how many people actually do? So I digress. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I'll be back at some point with a really, really cool video that I'm working on about how everything you know is wrong in the world thanks to marketing. So you will really enjoy that, because I say so, and because if you watch it, then you'll like it. I don't know, that's weird. Anyway, remember, critically think, question everything, and be free to speak your mind. Oh, and also remember, vote in November. Thank you very much, and have a great day.